Love lives here.
So let us begin, as we always do at this time, with our focus statement, shall we? And today, let's do it with all the M's. M's. So let's do it with marvelous. Let's do it marvelously, magnificently, magnanimously, monstrously. Let's do it with all the M's, shall we? Here we go. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes, even with masks on, I could hear you, so that's good. And there we are right there. Good morning, Aunt Nancy. It is great to see you this morning as well. Aunt Nancy is joining us from San Angelo, Texas. That's Michelle's and my aunt. So good morning, Aunt Nancy. She just popped in. So good morning. We are back in the sanctuary. So it's great to have you with us here. And Casey, this is for you, Allison, and for everybody. Casey says, Allison behind the podium, giving the invocation in the sanctuary, feels like order is restored in the universe. I would have to agree with Casey on that one. So there you are. So, all right, beloveds. So here at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we are working with the yearly theme of timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. And we are in a new month. A new month means a new theme for the month. And this month's theme is the soul's call. The soul's call. And so we will be diving into that all of this month, but we're going to interrupt the regularly scheduled program because we're back together anew. And so we can pick that up again next week. But this week, we are focusing on opening anew. Opening anew. So what does the anew mean? When I was looking at it, it says that anew kind of means again, but we're not really again. It's an evolutionary idea. It's an evolutionary concept that we are stepping into something, perhaps into a familiar space, but in a whole brand new way, in a way that perhaps is even more joyful, in a way that perhaps is even more grounded in spirit, in a way that is newer, fresher, that has improvement, that has innovation, that has something fresh and new about it. So look around the room. Have you noticed some of the new things in the room? Have you noticed the wall behind me? Yeah, it's a different color, isn't it? Have you noticed the windows? People are like, there's something different in here. I can't identify what it is. And it's like, yeah, around the windows have been painted and it pops the windows, the stained glass, the art that's already here. It brings out the beauty that already existed in the room and, amplifies it and magnifies it. And look at the banners. Look at the banners hanging, the colors in the banners, and what they say. Over here, we have guided by vision and grounded in wisdom. And that guided by vision, grounded in wisdom is a take on this year's theme of timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. Back there, next to Matt, it says living everyday wonder. Well, that's a preview for next year. For 2022. That is our theme for 2022. Some of you may know that I sit on the Global Themes team, and we create all of the content for the year. The centers choose to use it, and so I'm the chair of that team, and so that is the theme for next year, is living everyday wonder. Then back over here, all are welcome. Yes, all are welcome, and how wonderful it is to see new faces in this room this day. So welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time in person this day. I know that you probably checked us out online a little bit before. You probably saw a video or one of our services online, and then also just being present here. So it's great. Then we have our global vision. We envision a world that works for all. And then finally we have, you know it, we say it all the time, love lives here. Yes, love lives here. So some of the beauty that's happening here, we have new drapery here that Jeannie sewed. So thank you for that, Jeannie. And just a huge transformation. Some of you may recognize the the fountain behind me, that used to be downstairs in the community room and what used to be referred to as the chapel. And Frank and Anita had donated that years ago. And now we have it up here in the sanctuary. So it's on prominent display. So doesn't it feel good to be in here? Isn't it a wonderful space? So when we are opening anew, when we're thinking about moving anew, what it is we are not going back, people. I deliberately didn't say welcome back, and then I would have had to think welcome back Cotter is like, sweat hogs and all that, right? And for some of you get that, some of you don't, sorry. I saw Max's young eyes. He's reading his music on the iPhone. I'm just like, how in the world? All right. As he's reading his music, I'm just like, good grief. Okay, good. So it's not about welcoming back. It's not about coming back. It's not about returning to what was. It's not about getting back to normal. It's not about going back. Look at your feet. Which way do your feet point? Forward, right? So it's not about going backwards. Our feet point forward for a reason, people, right? The feet point forward for a reason, unless, Gary's like turning his foot around or whatever, right? So our feet point forward for a reason. Evolution is forward. The way we evolve spiritually, the way we evolve physically, the way we evolve as a society is forward. It's not about regressive. It's not about going backwards. Good morning, beloveds. Great to see you. It's not about going backwards. It's about moving forward. Good morning, Maria. Great to see you online as well. Good morning, Marty. Great to have you with us. So it's about moving forward. Right? So this whole year, we've had this opportunity, right, to really sit with and be present with and be intentional about and really pause and take a moment. We've kind of been forced into this collective pause, right? To take a moment and reassess, to reevaluate, to put our priorities and to really begin thinking is okay, so what is really, really important to me? What's the most important thing? Is it my family? Is it my career? Is it my job? Is it school? What is it? What is the most important thing for me personally? And I know that many of you have been asking that same question over this past year. And as things continue to shift and things continue to change, they continue to present new challenges that we have the opportunity to rise to, that we have the opportunity to say yes to, that we have the opportunity to think, okay, that changed, that shifted, so what am I going to do now, right? And so we have the opportunity, and we continue to have the opportunity to sit in the silence and to turn within to the wisdom within and simply ask, what is here for me? Remember last week we were talking about our stories, the universe is for us, spirit is for us, things are happening for us. Not to us, but for us, for our growth, for our evolution. So if things are happening for our growth and our evolution, so then what here now is for me? What new idea is wanting to be birthed? What new way of being? What new way of expressing? What new way of interacting is wanting to unfold, is wanting to be birthed, is wanting to be experienced through me, through this experience? Because when we live from that place of life happens through me, rather than life happens to me, or even life happens by me, if we live through that place of life happens through me, what is wanting to be birthed through me? What new experience is wanting to be birthed through this experience, through my consciousness, through my conscious evolution, through my participation? And so this whole year we've had an opportunity, or this 15 months, we've had this opportunity to be innovative, to be creative, to be more expansive, to recognize our interconnectedness, to recognize our interdependence with one another, and not only recognize it, but really begin to live from it, to also experience more intimacy with one another. Now, I know that that might sound weird because we were all sheltering in grace for so long, perhaps with ourselves or with a few others, and we weren't seeing people face to face or in person for so long. And yet, over the past 15 months, the world has gotten smaller. We've come to recognize that something that happens somewhere else affects us too. We've come to recognize that there is a oneness, there is an interconnectedness, there is an interdependence of life, that our consciousness and how we walk in the world and how we show up in the world impacts others as well. By the choices we make daily, we affect the lives of those around us. And we affect the lives of those whom we may never know, those who are new to us, those who we have never yet met. You are part of me I do not yet know. The small things that we do on a daily basis have great impact. So the more we do them from an intentional place, from a place of love, from a place of loving our neighbors as ourselves, the more we do that from a place of oneness, of centeredness, of groundedness, of wholeness, the more we move from that space, the more we interact from that space, the greater good, the greater impact that we have when we embolden people to live their highest potential. The greater impact we have when we bring that power of love to bear in any situation. Because we have a moment to stop and say, hey, what is it that I'm valuing? What is it that I'm honoring? What is it that I'm recognizing? Who am I recognizing? How am I being? How am I showing up? Am I showing up as the presence of love? Am I showing up as my fullest, highest self, as my most expansive self? Or have I contracted? So I want to share with you some numbers. So the last time we met together here was March 8th, 2020. March 8th. So that is 15 months. 65 weeks, 445 days, and 655,200 minutes. It's kind of like that song, right? You know, from Rent, right? Instead of 525,600 minutes, it's 655,200 minutes. And so how do you measure that, right? But I want to draw your attention to something, because as this whole year has unfolded, our center here, we've pivoted. We've thrived through the entire time. We've grown and we've expanded through this entire time. It might not feel like it because we were all sitting at home, but it's the truth. So first and foremost, I want to thank Michelle for 64 weeks, nonstop, producing online for all of us. So that's to Michelle. And I want to thank my husband back there sitting next to Michelle. For 60 weeks of having our living room turn into our sanctuary every Sunday. And for his support. He's also been doing a lot of the background support, making sure that things are appearing in your Facebook feed and your YouTube feed as you've been watching at home. He's been making sure that things are showing up there. And of course, he's just been a wonderful support. So I thank both of them. I also want to thank Matt and Jubel for showing up the entire time. It would not have been possible without them. So many centers went to canned music and showing videos and everything. and we've had live music the entire time. So I want to thank Matt and Jubel, and I want to thank the guys. I want to thank the band as well. There was a period in this 15 months where we couldn't have more than 2 people in the same room, right? And so it was really challenging for Max and Manny to sit at home, and they're wanting to play and they're wanting to be together, but we couldn't do it. And then once we finally were able to do that, it's been a blessing to have them back. So great to have you back with us as well. And for all of our talented musicians that have come through and shared time and space with us, including Jeffrey today. So I want to thank you. So. But it's been a pivot, it's been a change, and we've grown and we've expanded. So if you go back and you look at the cumulative views of all of our services, it's in the tens of thousands, people. The cumulative views of our services over this past 65 weeks. When you look at how many devices have been signed in on Sundays in the past 65 weeks, it's been close to 5,000 devices. So when you think of that, and you think of the reach that we have, that's far beyond Riverside. That's far beyond these 4 walls. It's far beyond the inland valleys, right? We're global, people. And how wonderful it is to have your friends and family joining us from other places around the world, and just to have people joining us from other locales around the world, able to watch us live or joining us later. Either way, the impact that our center here in Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, remember, part of the vision that we've caught here at Riverside is we are what it looks like when a center for spiritual living leads a city, but I would say when it leads a region, and even more so when Centers for Spiritual Living is able to share what it is that we teach, share our message of oneness, share our message of love with the world. That's how we reach 100 million people, and 100 million seems like an awfully small number, right? When you think about it, we alone have done tens of thousands ourselves just here in Riverside, right? So thinking about that is like we've continued to grow and we've continued to expand. And I also want to thank each and every one of you who have contributed throughout this past year. As you know, we've been closed because we haven't been here, right? But neither have our renters. Neither have those beloveds who call our center home, and who, by sharing their good with us, right, by sharing their financial good with us, allows us also to continue to do the work. And so the whole time there, our renters were not able to participate. And they're coming back too. And guess what? We have even more groups that are wanting to meet in person. We have 3 brand new groups wanting to meet in person starting this month. So it is a beautiful unfoldment of what is happening, of how we are continuing to open anew, to expand and grow, and to be intentional with the way that we're moving about in the world. So I want you to stop for a minute. I want you to think for just a moment about how you have been transformed this year. What shifted for you? What challenge have you embraced? What new something has emerged? Have you changed this year? How have you shifted this year? What have you become aware of this year? And give thanks for that. Give thanks for the beauty of that. Because it is a gift. Each of us has our own story, about the year. Each of us has our own experiences, individual experiences of the year, and yet there's this collective experience that we've shared, this collective movement that we have experienced, this collective shift in consciousness. We have had the opportunity to recognize each other even more fully as brothers, sisters, and siblings. I invite us not to fall asleep. I invite us not to forget that. That yes, this year has been a year of challenges, but it's been a year of immense and tremendous gifts. One of the gifts for me personally, I now have Ed here in Riverside at home, and he didn't have to leave his job. For 2 years, I was commuting for one, he commuted for the other. And for this past year, and hopefully knock acrylic, moving forward, he continues to be able to work from home. So we're together now. That was a gift, an unexpected gift, and a wonderful gift. And there's gift in the pain, there's gift in the sorrow, there's gift in the challenges. And then there's just like the gifts of innovation and creativity. That's beautiful. It's magnificent, if we're willing to receive it as such. So today is a day of celebration, right? Today is a day of celebration. Hallelujah, we are open here at Riverside. And in 2 weeks, possibly, so far everything is on track. All the numbers are on track, that California will be open on June 15th. How do we feel about that? Okay. It is. It's exciting, and it's something to celebrate, and how wonderful it is that we might not have to physically distance as much anymore, right? The masks, everything I'm reading still about the masks are still indoors. It looks like masks are still going to be highly recommended, if not still mandated. So, we're still waiting to see about that. But a lot of things are opening up without capacity limitations on them, right? And so that there's a greater sense of freedom here in the state of California. California, we've been doing really well, right? We lead the nation in terms of how well we've been doing with everything. So that's wonderful and great news. So yay us, right? That's something to celebrate. But I want to remind you of that 655,200 minutes. That, yes, we here in California, yes, we here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, we're open. There are many places in the world that still are not. There are many places in the world that are still in the throes of yet another wave of the global pandemic for a variety of reasons. One of them is the inequity of vaccine distribution. And I'm not just talking developing countries. Canada too. Canada doesn't make their own vaccine. Winnipeg and Toronto, they're shut down. They're closed down. So it's not just, oh, that over there. It's right next door. They're experiencing things like what we experienced back in January or July of last year. Right? So as we are celebrating, I invite us to remember, because though we are doing really well, when we look at statistics can have a tendency to allow us to forget. If we only think that, oh, well, per capita, California isn't even in the top 10 of the states in terms of how bad it was here in California. Or the United States per capita, it was, the United States is also not as bad as what we would think it would be when we start thinking about statistics like that. So I caution you to think about those statistics and how we apply those statistics, and that we don't get caught into a false narrative that it's not as bad, or it wasn't as bad as what it was. Because for the 30 or the 3.72 million people who are no longer on the planet this year, right now, since this began, they're not a statistic. Those are lives. Those are people with families, with brothers, with sisters, with fathers, with mothers, with children. For the 597,000 people in the United States, those are people, not statistics. Those are lives, those are loved ones, those are beloveds. For the 63,426 California, those are people. Those are lives. Those are loved ones. For the 4,616 in Riverside County, those are people. Those are lives. Those are loved ones. So I share this with you as a call, as a reminder that each life is precious. Each individualized life is whole and holy. Each one is the beloved. Each one is the expression of the divine, just as you are, just as I am, just as we all are. So before we, or not before, but as we celebrate, and we should celebrate, it is an exciting and wonderful time to be together and to celebrate together and to be able to see each other in the eyes and to be present with one another rather than the 10,000 or, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of hours on Zoom. I don't know about you, but it feels like, I'm just like hooked to this thing. To be able to see one another, it's great to be able to celebrate with one another, but let us not forget. Let us not forget. And let us remember, as we open anew, as we move forward into this new era, that we do so intentionally, that we do so with a place of love, that we're not trying to go backwards, we're not trying to set things back up the way they used to be, but that we're actually progressing and we're moving forward. Are you with me on that? I call for all of us to stay awake. It's really easy right now to get complacent. It's like, hey, you want to go to Buffalo Wild Wings? Right on, let's go, right? Or wherever, right? It's like, it's really easy to forget. I invite us to remember. And in so doing, we open our hearts, we open our lives, we open our center, we open our world anew. Who's with me? All right. All right. So wonderful. So here we go. Let's pray in, shall we? Or let's give it let's do some prayer, shall we? Yeah? All right. I've been talking to a camera right here, and it's been really easy. For 65 weeks, just been talking right into that camera and just looking at you bigger than life on your television set. Hey, how you doing? Right. Now, y'all in person, I expect to hear you. So, are you with me? All right, thank you. I can just stand in my living room talking to a camera, okay? All right, so here we go. All right, joining together in consciousness. Actually, let's have the practitioners and the core council. Let's please have you stand. You can stand where you are, but let's have you stand. And our practitioner interns, yes, as well. And our ministers, yes. Thank you all. All right. So these beloveds hold this community in consciousness on a daily basis. They are in prayer on a daily basis for this beloved community, and how great it is to see them here again in the sanctuary. And so here we go. I recognize that there's just one power, one presence, one infinite, eternal life expressing in, through, and as all of creation, as all of life itself. It is life. It is love. It is wholeness and perfection. And it is forever expressing, forever evolving, forever showing itself and expressing itself in new and greater and more magnificent ways. And I recognize that it is the very essence of who each one is. It is the I am that I am. And I recognize, therefore, because it is all that there is, the divine is all that there is only this one thing that all of life could be made from, all of creation could be made from, and that is the divine itself. The divine expressing in, through, and as each and every one, living, moving, breathing, and having its being as us and us as it. We are one with the one, inseparable from it. There is just one life forever expressing, and that is the life of the divine, expressing as each and everyone present here this day. So I speak my word for this beloved community, Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, recognizing that each one of us comes together in this space, whether it be joining us online or joining us here in this physical space or watching this later on sometime during the week. I recognize that each one of us, and I claim for each one of us, that we are opening anew, that we have set an intention here today to walk humbly upon this earth, to live in right relationship with one another and with all of life, that we remember who we are, and we do not forget the lessons that we have learned this year. We give great gratitude for the challenges and for the opportunities for growth and expansion and innovation that we have experienced this year, and we open to even more. We open to even greater possibility. We open even greater to the infinite expression of life, moving and breathing and experiencing itself through and as each one of us. This is what we open to here now. And so when we meet each other, when we meet people on the street, when we interact with one another, we do so from that place of love. We do so from that place of recognition that it is the divine meeting the divine. Always and in all ways. There is no other activity other than the divine activity making itself known through each and every person, through each and every soul. And so we open anew, we open ourselves to greater possibility, we open ourselves to greater love, we open ourselves to greater peace, to greater joy, to greater harmony, to greater abundance in the world. We open and we be. And so I give thanks for this realization. I give thanks for this time together. I give thanks for this holy communion of souls that have come together, this holy conscious union, this whole coming together to open anew. And I release this word into the law, knowing that it is already fulfilled, knowing that we need do nothing except simply say yes to life, say yes to love. And so we say yes, and so it is.
Love.